with 2-6, and I'm just an infantry battalion. So I look around, you know, the intellect of this room, and I'm not quite sure I'm the right guy to be presenting at all. But I'll tell you what, I'll just tell you the story of 2-6 and how we've started to integrate some ideas that you see kind of around the floor here, and what we think about it. And so as we were kind of looking at the environment, you know, got the leaders together and says, boy, look at this environment. Look how complex it is. You know, you go through how volatile it is, how uncertain it is. And we're trying to think about what weapon system should we focus on at an infantry battalion. And what we came down to is that weapon system is the human mind. And that should be the system that we're focused on. Now, what's different about me is I'm going a completely different direction. Because 70% of my combat power is a Marine who's maybe in for 4 years, whether it be an infantry lieutenant or whether it be an infantry NCO. And so how do you focus that combat power on the human mind at that realm? And how do you make that happen? And so what we decided on is we just kind of came up with a mantra for the battalion, and this was kind of all the leadership all together, and said, we're going to make the best decision makers in the Marine Corps, period. That's our goal. However we do that, whether it be through field operations, whether it be through, you know, other venues, which is what we'll talk about, that was our goal. And that's what we set out, and from there led to what you're going to see next. So from there we made sub-goals. And kind of, you know, here it's titled Why a Decision Room. But when we started, we didn't have this idea of a decision room yet. What we had is we were looking through, with the officers, looking through the Commandant's guidance, looking through, you know, what is DOD saying is coming our direction. And you start to come up with some of these things that you see here is rapid decision making. You know, we end up talking about breeding tactics. You know, because one of the things that we focus on, at least in the Marine Corps, is we focus on techniques. Internally based operations that help us solve a problem, not with an enemy in a certain terrain, in a certain environment, with a certain mission, which changes everything, right? We don't have those. That tactics manual, right, doesn't tell you what to do. And so we were finding out is through competition, it breeds different tactics. You change the way you do things once an enemy is presented to you. And you keep going through there, you know, force on force through a thinking enemy, creative thinking under stress. Most of the time you look at all these things like, well, you should be doing this. Well, the issue is for an infantryman, how much time does he spend in the field? And what we came down to is we did an analysis of a couple of my other brother battalions, and the highest percentage, all right, was somewhere a little under 40% in the field. And what happens there is most of it's in the field and then out. And no ability to analyze what happened. No ability to go back and replay the tape, at least at the lowest level. And so what we decided, you know, is we needed something to do this with. Something that does that bottom line. Create an environment where junior Marines can become military professionals. As officers, you know, you listen to a brigade combat team, look how much power he's got, how many people he can move around a simulation center to create things for him. Where's the Lance Corporal have that power? Where's the Corporal who's gonna be the guy who makes the decision to pull the trigger to make something happen? Where's he get that from? And where's his, more important, it's kind of the next slide, where's his workspace to do that? Right? And so what we decided is we were just gonna build a decision room. And we cobbled this thing together, I mean, almost comically, right? It was a couple phone calls, a couple beg, borrows, and pleads, like, oh, you can't do that, this has got this, but you're throwing these computers away, right? And that's what we grabbed. We grabbed computers that, you know, are in computer years way older than me, right? And we said, hey, let's grab this. Let's grab whatever technology you can grab. And some of the technology is so old, you'll see it. It's Marines in old camis, right? But it didn't matter. What we were looking for is, how do I create decision makers? The technology doesn't make that. We figured we could get there by creating a room first. So we built the room. And then what we did is we brought in every single officer in the chain of command, like, look what we built. This is what we have. And when they would come through, and inside of there is our division commander, when he came through, he ended up asking, what do you need? I was like, I only need one thing. Allow me to freely collaborate with anybody who can help. Allow me to create an entrepreneurial-like investment where I can go talk to anyone who can help, whether it be O&R, whether it be TCOM, whether it be Traces, whoever it is. Allow me to freely communicate with them and see what we can create at this place. And they all said, go for it. So they broke the construct of like must have X, must have Y requirement, must do this. And so we built the room. And from there, you know, we started coming up with tools inside the decision room. And I'll talk a little bit more about the tools, but they don't matter. It's kind of the idea that matters of how do you get the lowest Marine engaged. And so what we did is we moved the decision room because we started to get assets, we moved it into his space. It's in that Marine's workspace. It's his professional military workspace. It's in his barracks. That Marine, if he wants to on the weekend, can check out the duty, the key from the duty right across the way, walk in there and watch the tape. Play the game. Get things ready for his Marines the next week. And we have that happen. Once we created the room and started putting the tools in there, you can go through our logbooks. On 96s, Marines will sign in during a Liberty period for 4 to 6 hours. They're in there creating things for the next week. They're learning and growing on their own. And that's what we were trying to create with the decision room. So some of these assets up here, you'll see like augmented reality. Well, that's brand damn new, right? Close combat Marine, and even you'll see some weird stuff up there. That's when I was a lieutenant. Close combat Marine was out. We started grabbing commercial off-the-shelf technology to figure out what can we grab and pull that helps us think. The Marine Corps has an old order that is still in effect that says you can load any decision-making software on a Marine computer to help you make decisions. We leveraged that thing. It was written back in like 1998, but Lord knows we had a copy of it. And we were like, hey, let me try X. And everybody was willing to help. That was the amazing part. You know, most people think the bureaucracy will stop you. But what we found is if you have a good idea and you have a clear vision, people will come out of the woodwork to help you create something they believe in also. And so that's what we found, and these are some of the tools that we use. And I'll go into each one of those tools, but I just want you to visualize that workspace of now where the Marine infantryman is. He can walk out of his rack, walk 20 feet, and get to work in this cognitive workspace, which is what we're aiming for. Next slide. So I did the next creative thing is I just made something up. I made up this title of the Spartan Emerging Technology Week. And literally just made up a week and just started inviting people down. Called O&R, called PM Traces, like started telling everybody, hey, this is the emerging technology, and everybody heard about it. Like, can I come visit that? Whoa, what is that? I want to know what that is. Like literally general officers, like, I'm gonna come see this. Like this is something we just made up, right? We just said, hey, we're gonna do this thing. Everybody come join us. And it was that entrepreneurial, like, oh, we're gonna figure this thing out. Yeah, let's get down there and make this thing happen. And so from that week, you know, I'll show you a video, kind of what happened at the end of the week and what the idea was, but it was just this kind of from the bottom up, how do we make this happen? And how do we get people involved? And how do we get people who are interested to help us out? So next slide. So one of the things that, you know, we started working on through that week is it's called the ITDG. So interactive tactical decision game. And what it is the old way, whenever a leader wanted to help his guys make decisions, what did he whip out? An old piece of paper, right? He whip out a piece of paper, say, you fill that out, I'll fill this thing out, and then we'll talk about it. Well, everybody's got a tablet. Everybody's got a phone. When are we going there? And so that's what this does. This allows a Marine to make up a TDG anywhere he is, and then send it out to everybody around him that has a phone, that can get Chrome. He can put it in there. Now obviously I can't create this, so we get with O&R and say this is kind of what we're looking for. They start to create it. What did that week do for us? It did what I call nerd to grunt speak, right? They'd be like, me want sign here. Like, oh, okay, I can make that happen, right? And what was awesome is the Marines grabbed this tool and they're like literally looking around like, you know what else we could do with this? We could do this. We could do that. And so literally what was supposed to be a simple TDG game, the Marines came up with a concept that helps them go to field operations, come back from field operations and analyze it. So what they do is they take this technology, whatever order they have, they do a TDG on what's coming up next, they execute that. Here's the imagery, let's do a TDG, how would we attack this, how would we do that? Then they write their order in the same system. Then what they do is they come back through and they pull down any Raven feed they received, any technology, any feeds that they got, they put it back in the system to create an after action. We review the videotapes and they put their Marines, that means every leader underneath them gets to see what they saw, what they knew, how they made decisions. And so now you've created a tool that was meant just to be an ITDG, but it looks like a professional team. Let's review the tape. Let's figure this thing out. Let's go backwards and make decisions. Let me help you, you know, squad leader, corporal, understand why I made the decision I made as a platoon commander and show you where I messed it up. I'm starting to give my interaction and my decisions to you after we come out of the field. So I'm taking that 30% space, which is very high fidelity to decision making, and expanding it into the garrison environment. And because it's in that Marine's room, it's in that environment, he can make it anytime he wants, he can pull down the video anytime he wants, and he can create it anytime he wants. It's all up to making him a professional. Next slide. Body cams. So we asked for a bunch of body cams. And my question was always this: how does a professional football team have so much tape to review and I don't? How does a professional football team, when it costs so much less in lives, how are they so far advanced and we're not? How am I not watching the video of why did you go right? Why did you go left? Why did you make this decision? What was the interaction between you and them? And so that's what we asked for. We asked for body cams. We asked for some UAV technology to record the film so we can go back and watch it. So we can become a professional team. And from there, we're using the ITDG and what used to be the close combat or the combat decision range, we can incorporate that video into one of those TDGs. It can literally be like, you were supposed to attack here, you're here, here's the video of what you see. And it would be field footage of somebody shooting back at you. What do you want to do? What decision did you make? Hey, that's the same decision I made. Look what happened. Right? He can take them through that. And now a TDG isn't just something made up, it's something I've actually experienced. I have an idea of what the heck happened. And it's using that technology, and that's Marines interacting with O&R, interacting with cognitive scientists and making that happen. Next slide. Augmented reality. This is something you see kind of all around and out here. Right? And the idea is now, how do I end up making real world match what I need to do in the visual world that I want effects in? And so what I say to people all the time, this does a couple things for me, right? It allows me to put fake rounds with live troops, which I can't do. And I can't tell you how many times I've had Marine officers, at least in my the generation who has grown up, to say, oh, I wouldn't drop rounds there because it's not safe. It doesn't match an MSL. It doesn't match a men's safe line. And they're judged off of that safety factor because live fire matters, right? We're not willing to cost one Marine his life. But what happens when I put them in a tactical scenario, what decision do you think they continue to make? They continue to make the same, well, I would never do that. And so literally in field operations and in TDGs, I will have officers make decisions that would allow their own forces to be overrun because they're unwilling to understand the tactical situation vice the safety situation, but they get trained in every day in live fire. So now this allows me to push those together, to push those ideas of an observer who says, yep, one building over is where I'm calling for fire. And in an augmented reality, as his troops are really attacking, he is watching rounds walk in one building over. That's what I can do. In a live fire event, I can put virtual troops in. When would you cease fire? And what they've done is, because we talked to them about it, they put all the things, how you all see the yellow line in the football games of the 10-yard line? Those are now on the ground as the Marines calling for fire. This is where the SDZ would stop, the surface danger zone would stop. This is where the men's safe line would stop. This is a 10% piece of, probability of incapacitation. But the enemy's still shooting at your troops. What decision do you want to make? Right? He gets to visualize the battlefield to make those decisions, and I can bring all those decisions back to the space and talk about it again and work on it again. At least we're working on getting there, right? But this is the conversations we have. I'm looking at our own compatriots in the back who've been with us, kind of hand in hand inside of this environment, because they're talking to operators on the ground. They're talking to a Lance Corporal who has a bunch of great ideas. So then, the other half of the decision room is what I call competition. You saw this competition breeds tactics. This idea of, did you win? Did you learn? Did you grow? Did you fight? Did you get better? Did you get smarter? Did you get faster? Did you get stronger? There are times to disobey or go against the technique you've been given. That's throughout history. And so what we did is we created tactical competition. It's called the Spartan Tactical Games. And in the Spartan Tactical Games, we decide who the best squad leader in the battalion is and who the best platoon commanders are. If I can get a little bit better technology, eventually we'll go to the best company commanders. And we'll put myself inside of it also. I need to be tested just like everybody else. And so inside of there, we used a old virtual battlefield system, which has been around for a really long time. And we put everybody in a bracket, and we decided who the best was. And so what we believe as a squad leaders, we believe they fight in what I call this world, right here, looking at it. They tell a guy to his left to go right. They tell him, hey, you need to go here. You need to do this. And so we put him in that environment and competed. But then one thing that we did with O&R is we brought the cognitive scientists with us. We tested Marines beforehand. We looked at what kind of decisions they made, and we started to make metrics of how can we make them better, sharper, faster, stronger. Not just go through it, but how can I see that you're getting better? How can I measure that? How can I get my officers to understand what questions they need to ask? And so those are the types of things we're rolling into this. So eventually, a commander can come in and maybe he hasn't been an instructor. Maybe he doesn't know, but maybe he's got a dashboard that shows him where this lieutenant is, where this sergeant is, where everyone is at in their decision-making process, and who is decent and is not decent. And it was one of the interesting things we did with O&R. We had the cognitive scientists test a couple of our Marines that I had an assessment on. Does the assessment match? Did I say they were a good decision maker? Did the scientists say they were a good decision maker? And that was a really interesting process. Next slide. What we try to do with our officers, we believe that they have to traverse worlds, right? An officer may see this space, but where he makes his best decisions is to transfer the real world into a map-like environment and create a mental model to outflank and outthink the enemy from what he sees here. And that's a junior officer technique. And the junior officers have to be able to traverse that mental model. So we make them fight in mental models from the top down. And we walk backwards on that. Next slide. All right, what we're gonna do is I'll end this out. I'm kind of wrapping up my time with just a quick 2-minute video that we took that wrapped up that week.
Who's shooting? Wasn't me. All right.
War is a cool thing to study. It's one of those very fascinating things that most of us as children have always been fascinated about. It's a challenge of wills, and it's something that we want to do more and more, but we don't know how to put it into a content that's not overbearing.
We're using a virtual platform for squad leaders and team leaders to control fire teams in a virtual battlefield, and they're using tactics and techniques to kill the enemy.
Now you've taken this technology, and you've taken this learning that you can use and putting it in the hands of the Marines, which is the most important thing. Because inherently they want to get better at their job. They have a desire to master what they're doing. And so what happens is you move the technology down to them in their space and they master it. And that's really kind of been what the decision room has been for. We take this same model to the field. It's free play force on force. And what you'll find is you'll find Marines 4 to 6 hours after an event talking about it.
What this system actually can do for us is it gets us the same outcome as actually shooting live rounds, but it's all computer generated. So it gives the observers a chance to make those corrections, make the adjustments that they need to without actually shooting the rounds, and it's all done on a computer. So they can see it all on a big screen. It also helps with after-action debriefs.
I believe that putting them in this type of competition where they get to think, learn, and grow while developing tactics increases our cohesion. Increases the will of a unit to want to become better. We think we'll grow this kind of from the bottom up as people start to see its effectiveness and more importantly, the esprit de corps and cohesion of the Marines that are given a little bit of that autonomy, mastery, and purpose to become great.
Okay, so with that, I'll wrap it up. Once again, showing once you say, you have a emerging technology week combat camera comes down and does the Lord's work for you. Thank you all for your time. I went a little over, so I'll stay around afterwards if you have any questions for us in particular. Thank you.